It's time for Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
He is so wide open, it's unbelievable. Touchdown, Alabama!
Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show are presented by Alfa Insurance. Protect your car's home, life, and business with Alfa. Get a quote or find a local agent at alfainsurance.com. Also brought to you by Toyota. Visit your local Toyota dealership today. Toyota, let's go places. Golden Flake, the official potato chip of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Yellow Hammer Brewing, Alabama's finest craft brewery. Everwood, the official treated lumber of Alabama athletics. And by Ford. For great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
Throws far side. Intercepted Alabama.
Now, here's Eli Goals.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show, presented by Alfa Insurance. Protect your car's home, life, and business with Alfa. We've got lots to talk about this evening. We'll be checking in on the world of golf with Mick Potter, the head coach of the women's golf team here at the University of Alabama. We've got sports director Ryan Hennessy from NBC 13 in Birmingham. He'll be our special media guest. And of course, at the top of the hour, Coach Nick Saban will be here to review last week's win over the Ole Miss Rebels and a look ahead to this weekend's meeting late Saturday night with the Mississippi State Bulldogs in Starkville. If you want to keep up with all of that and anything else that's happening on campus, let me suggest the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app. It's presented by Cadence Bank, and it's available at the App Store and at Google Play. You can download the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app absolutely absolutely free, and it's available right now. So check it out, whether you're on the operating system. They've got it for you right now at Google Play and the App Store. This is Hey Coach. We're live at Baumhauer's Victory Grill, the official watch party location of the Crimson Tide, and we're here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, Coach and the Nick Saban Show, live from Baumhauer's Victory Grill here in Tuscaloosa, presented by Alfa Insurance. And this segment of the show also presented by Royal Furniture, family owned and operated for 75 years. Royal Furniture. They have locations here in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Memphis, and Jackson, Tennessee for your shopping convenience. We're going to open up the show this evening and talk about a sport that I can't do very well, but it's all right. I don't have to be out there. I'll just talk about it and watch others who know what they're doing. I'm going to talk about women's golf, and Mick Potter, the head coach, is seated to my right. Great to see you, Coach. It's been a while.
Great to see you, Eli. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Not that Roger wasn't great, but welcome back.
Thank you. Roger's Roger. You know, he is a good man, and I appreciate him filling in. And Alina Sins is with us as well. She is a member of the golf team and a darn good one. Great to see you, ma'am.
It's good to see you, too. Thank you for having me up here.
Sure. Coach, let's talk about the start of the season.
Well, we started out at Purdue Labor Day weekend and played pretty well, finished second. We ran into a home team that was really hot and knew the course and shot 18 under in the second round, but we were pretty steady, and I'm very optimistic about this team. We went to the Mason Rudolph in Nashville last weekend, and I drove in the parking lot and I started looking at the vans in there, and I said to my assistant, Susan, you didn't tell me about this field. It's like stronger than the national championship field.
Exactly.
So we finished 12th there. We were second in the field in pars, which makes me optimistic, but consequently we weren't very high in birdies, which we needed to be. So we got to make some more birdies, but we got the firepower to do it, so we're pretty excited.
Folks, if you'd like to join the conversation, feel free even to call now and get online for Coach Saban or to speak to either of our current guests. Just give us a call on the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline, 877-202-BAMA. That's 877-202-BAMA. Hey, Coach, presented by Alfa Insurance. How good is this team? What's from a player's standpoint? Golf obviously is an individual sport, but at the same time, there is a team element in much of this. How good can this team be?
I think we can be the best in the country. I came here because I saw a good mixture of experience as well as some younger players that are really eager to learn and get better, and I've been really proud of watching my teammates work so far in the season, and I'm really excited for what we can do.
What's the strength of your game?
I'm hitting the ball a little bit farther now. I'm getting my putting on track, so I'm really trying to work really hard on my short game. But probably my ball striking right now.
Right. And, Coach, how do you work on that? I mean, how much can you show a person? You just suggest ideas? Or how do you do this?
So, for example, today Alina asked to work on a certain shot. As someone at her level, we take instances that occurred on the golf course and we try to replicate what we saw out there and get better at it. I don't know if anybody saw Alina when she walked in, but she's really a small girl. She achieved 100 miles an hour club head speed today. So distance isn't a problem.
Right.
We just got to get the ball in the hole a little bit sooner.
Yeah, and that's not easy to do. But it's that's one thing. You've been here, Coach, seemingly forever, and I say that respectfully. How has the game of golf changed? How has your approach had to change based on the athlete of today?
Well, obviously distance has become a much bigger issue.
Sure.
The farther you hit it, everybody's so much more athletic, so much stronger, faster. So we don't really teach that. We work a lot in the gym on strength and conditioning and creating speed that way. But, I still believe, especially in our sport, in women's golf, putting the ball in the fairway so that you can spin it going into the greens and hit the ball at the trajectory that you want to is most important. And then we start to work on proximity to the hole, on approach. But, on tour, you've got to putt well.
Yeah.
That's the biggest differentiator between the top level players and the ones that don't quite make it.
Oh, I understand. When I'm out there, all of my putts, they always seem to hit that little windmill or something. It's just, it's embarrassing.
I feel you.
Yeah, I hear you. Elena, where do you come from? I know you said to me earlier you come from just outside of the Houston, Texas area. What was your background?
I have grown up a little bit all over the world. I lived in Dubai for about 5 years. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and we moved to Pittsburgh, and then we moved to Texas. So right now my parents are living in Katy. So that's where I come back and forth from when summer starts.
Dubai, that's an interesting stop, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really cool. Really good experience. Lots of good golf courses.
I was going to say, they probably have some layouts there that are rather impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When you get out there and the coach comes up and says, let's do this or whatever it might be, what happens if you're not comfortable with a suggestion? And I don't mean philosophically, I mean physically.
Yeah.
If you just aren't comfortable swinging the club in this shot that the coach suggested, how do you handle that?
I think player to coach, we have a pretty good relationship of trust. I've learned that Mick and Susan have done a really good job of trusting me with my decisions, so I know that when they suggest something to me that I should be able to trust in them. And golf, a lot of times you're in uncomfortable situations where you just have to get up and hit it, and that's the difference between great and good players, where you're under pressure and you need to get it done, you get it done.
When you talk about finding these type of players, Coach, we always talk about this with Olympic sport coaches, if you will. High schools, I would assume, don't yield a ton of collegiate talent, not just in the state of Alabama, but on a nationwide basis. Where do you find these ladies?
Well, I couldn't tell you the last time I've been to a high school event.
Really?
We recruit worldwide, and to us there are no borders.
Do you have bird dogs across the world?
I wish, but fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, Susan and I do that. So we recruit in Europe a couple times a year. The great thing about the European teams is that they're federally funded for the most part,
right?
And they're developed from a young age. We don't have that in the U.S. yet, but the USGA is now developing a national junior team program, which is going to be really beneficial to our domestic recruiting.
I bet it would be. We're going to come right back. Don't leave us. We've got more with the coach, and Elena, we're going to talk a bit more about women's golf. And then close to the top of the hour, Coach Nick Saban will be joining us, along with Ryan Hennessy, our media guest tonight, the sports director from Channel 13 in Birmingham. But right now, we break away for these messages. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. everybody. Hey, Coach, and the Nick Saban Show, presented tonight, as always, by Alfa Insurance. Protect your cars, home, life, and business with Alfa. And tonight's segment of Hey, Coach, also presented by Roll Tide Jerky, Alabama's newest tailgate tradition. Proceeds from Roll Tide Jerky will help fuel Crimson Tide athletes. It's coming to a store near you or online. You can order it right now at rolltidejerky.com. Roll Tide Jerky, where passion and protein collide. Are you a jerky kind of guy, Mick Potter?
I am not.
No, I am not either.
I actually don't eat meat, so.
Oh, really? That would be an interesting. I didn't realize that. When did that start?
I think it's been 15 years.
Really? Mm-hmm. Might I ask what triggered that change in your dietary habit?
For health reasons.
Okay.
And you know, if you love what you do, you want to do it a long time.
Yes.
So I wanted to make sure I had some longevity. So diet was one of those things, and exercise.
Good.
So yeah, so here I am still. So
well, yeah, and you're looking great. You're looking superb. So there's no doubt about it. Alina Sains is with us as well. She is a member of the Crimson Tide women's golf team. Let's talk about. We talked before. You guys are hitting the road, going up to Medina, I believe. What courses have you played on domestically that maybe our listeners would be familiar with that have really caught your attention?
I've had the opportunity to play some pretty great golf courses through college golf. Locally in Alabama, I think Birmingham Country Club and Shoal Creek have been really great tracks.
Sure. How about other places where maybe the LPGA or the PGA have played, Coach? Do you have many stops like that?
Well, I can't say enough about the national championship course that we've had for the last 3 years, Greyhawk and Scottsdale, Arizona. We played a tournament in California at Palos Verdes where the LPGA Tour plays. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this week the Epson Tour is here at Old Colony. Starts tomorrow through Sunday.
Right.
So that's the sort of the minor league of the LPGA Tour. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I talked about recruiting in Europe. Like, I played like 5 of the top 10 courses in the world when I happened to be over there.
Sure.
So I don't know about Alina, but
you'll get your chance. You'll
get
your chance.
So.
Let's talk very quickly here about what you want to see out of yourself, other than the obvious answer of an NCAA championship. What do you want to see coming out of college as far as preparing for your pro career and so on? Or is there something other than a pro career that you see in your future?
Yeah, I'm hoping to turn professional next summer, so it's kind of crunch time getting down to it and the nitty-gritty of what I need to do to get better. And Coach Mick and Coach Susan have been here for everything that I need to get there. And obviously everyone wants to win a national championship. Everyone wants to be SEC champions, but I think it takes a little bit more grit than everybody else, want to win a little bit more than everybody else to get there.
Coach Seawell's had success, obviously, on the men's side. How much does that help in recruiting when you are obviously looking for young ladies, but he's had this success with the men? It's got to help name recognition.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you tell people that Justin Thomas played here, and Robbie Shelton and Davis Riley and Lee Hodges, who won this summer.
Exactly.
The names are recognizable, and young women understand that you can come here and achieve your goals, and you have a place, one of the best places in the country, practice facility-wise, to achieve that. It helps a lot. We've also been really lucky to have 2 teams that get along really well, and it's to the point where we call it a golf program, not a men's and women's golf program, but a golf program. So that's not like that at most places.
Is it not?
No.
Interesting. And was that something that you and Jay have deliberately worked on, or is that just something that happened and you said, hey, we've got something unique here?
I think it happened largely because Jay and I knew each other before we were here. He grew up in Anderson, South Carolina. I remember Jay playing in the state high school championship at Furman when I was there. So we go way back, and we've always gotten along well and had respect for each other. And I think that pours over into what we do on a daily basis with our golf programs.
Definitely. Well, listen, it's great having you guys here. I wish you all the best. You'll be keeping close tabs on you, so don't disappoint us. I know you won't. And Mick, great to see you, sir. You're looking wonderful as always.
To see you. Thank you, Eli.
Take care.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Mick Potter, the head coach of the women's golf team, and Alina Sins, the standout golfer for the Crimson Tide. We appreciate both of them joining us here on tonight's show. Baumhauer's is where we are, Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. You know, Bob's is ready for football. Fun, great food. They've got that big game headquarters menu if you've not had a chance to check it out. Bob's going to get you hooked up on that new lemon garlic salmon. And for all you meat lovers, try the new char-grilled flat iron Callaway steak for their signature shrimp etouffee. Baumhauer's legendary fun, legendary food. Check it out here and in locations all around the state of Alabama. We're coming right back with Ryan Hennessy, sports director of NBC 13 in Birmingham. That follows these messages on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, Coach, on the Nick Saban Show, presented to you by Alfa Insurance. Protect your car's home, life, and business with Alfa. Time to acknowledge the Everwood Performance of the Week, and it goes to Alabama linebacker Dallas Turner, who was selected as the Bednarik Player of the Week, as voted upon by the Maxwell Football Club. Dallas Turner finishing the Ole Miss game with 5 stops, including 2 sacks for a loss of 17 and a career-high 3.5 tackles for loss. That was a loss of 27 yards in all of that. So congratulations to Dallas Turner, the Everwood Performer of the Week. Everwood is wood treated right. and he is one of the gentlemen who is no doubt covered on a regular basis by our next guest, our media guest of the evening, Ryan Hennessy from NBC 13 in Birmingham. Good to see you, partner. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. First off, welcome back. It's great to have you.
Thank you. You're very, very kind.
Eli Gold calling a football game. There's nothing like it, so I'm ecstatic to have you back.
You're very, very kind, and I'm loving it, to say the very least. Let's talk about this Alabama team in general terms. We'll get into greater detail later on. How easy to cover this group of athletes?
It's fun, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to start with Jalen Milroe because I've covered this team this is my 6th year.
Right.
And one of the classiest, best answers I've ever experienced covering a player. I mean, after the Texas loss, it wasn't easy, but he handled that like an absolute pro.
Mm-hmm.
So win, loss, you couldn't tell. This team's fun. The path is still there. And I'm excited to see what's next. But the defense is really, really something I'm liking right now.
Yes, it's really, really good. And we'll talk more about that, of course, when the coach joins us. But right now we break for these messages on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. You're listening to Hey Coach, presented by Alfa Insurance. Protect your car's home, life, and business with Alfa. Tonight's media guest, presented by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Manage your finances. It's never been any easier than now at CB&S Bank. Let's pause 10 seconds right here for station identification. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
Crimson Tide this weekend with a late Saturday night kickoff against Mississippi State in Starkville. The Tide, with quarterback Jalen Milroe's running ability and his use of play action, could make things difficult for the Bulldogs as the Tide looks to stay perfect in SEC play. The Tide and the 2-2 Mississippi State Bulldogs take center stage on tonight's September 28th edition of the Nick Saban Show. Here we go!
Hey everybody, Alabama coach Nick Saban here.
This is the Nick Saban Show.
Roll Tide.
Live from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa.
All right, blow the horn, let's go.
Presented by Alfa Insurance. For auto, home, and life insurance, call Alfa.
Welcome, everybody, to the Nick Saban Show, presented by Alfa Insurance. Protect your cars, home, life, and business with Alfa. Coach, great to see you, sir. How you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing well, having a good show. We visited with Mick Potter and one of his golfers. I'll tell you, women's golf, as well as you're a golfer yourself. The men and the women here at Alabama, they have put together quite the program.
Oh, they sure have, and they have a tremendous amount of success and had a lot of really good players. And, you know, it's always interesting to follow some of them when they, you know, get at the next level.
Sure.
And we have the one young lady that's playing in the, what's it called, the Cup over there in Europe or something.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. So always creates a lot of interest, I think, for our fans and all the people who support Alabama to be able to follow those folks, you know, when they leave.
Coach, you know this gentleman sitting here, Ryan Hennessy from NBC 13 in Birmingham. He'll be our media guest tonight, and he's just chomping at the bit to throw questions at you.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Let's do it. Coach, Mississippi State, obviously, and I asked you on Monday, it's a very good challenge. But when you look across the way, no Mike Leach, and I asked you a little bit about it, and your face smiled because of the friendship that you had with him. Mike Leach was an interesting coach, but off the field, what were some of your interactions that you had with him? Because some of these players said he used to watch the end of the movie scripts, and they wouldn't turn it off. There's interesting story. Do you have any of those?
Well, you know, Mike Leach was a one of a kind from a personality standpoint. He's a very unique person, very intelligent person, and had a myriad of interest. Mm-hmm. You know, I would, last year when we played, and like before the game, when you go up and usually say, hey, how you doing? Your team's playing well. Shake hands. Good luck. Hope everybody stays healthy. You know, that's the normal, coach talk. I mean, he's asked me about, like, who do you use to invest, you know, in real estate? I mean, like off the wall. This is before the game. Like off the wall stuff. And really interested. And then he'll say, well, I have these guys, man, and I just don't know if they're the right guys to be doing what I want them to do. I mean, but it was completely like something that you would never, ever think of. And he was serious, and it was always intelligent. But then you go play him in the game, man, and you're seeing stuff like, wow, where did he come up with this stuff, and how are we going to defend that? So he was a very unique coach from a systematic standpoint. But interesting way that he did things and had a tremendous amount of success relative to the way a lot of other people think you need to do things. Mm-hmm. You know, and the only unique coach that I really ever had the opportunity to coach with was Jerry Glanville. You know, we won more games in 2 years in the AFC at the Houston Oilers, I think, than maybe just us in Buffalo, because that's when Buffalo went to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row. We could never beat them in Buffalo, but you know, Jerry was a great coach, but everything that you think you need to do to be successful as a coach, organizationally, we didn't do. We didn't have a notebook. I mean, who in their right mind ever heard of a coach in the NFL or college or anything else doesn't have a notebook? When I got the job there, he handed me a notebook. It was 1975 Atlanta Falcons. Now, this was 1988 or 9. All right, so, and I said, well, how am I going to learn the defense? He says, oh, we'll teach it to you, but I just don't want anybody to, you know what we do. So everybody thinks you have to have a practice plan for practice. We never had a practice plan. We never had a script. You know, you script all the plays. So like in our practice, I script the play. All right, here's the defense, here's the offensive play they're going to run, so you can anticipate what's coming up so you can coach the players if they don't do it right. Same thing on offense. You know, this is the play we're running, this is the defense they're running, this is the coverage they're running. So the quarterback should be reading left to right, whatever, middle of the field closed, open. But you know what's coming so you can anticipate it so you can coach better. We never had that.
Yeah.
We never had an install sheet. You know, like when we go to fall camp, we've got an install sheet that says, all right, this is what we're doing on offense today, this is what we're installing, this is what we're doing on defense, and this is what we're doing on special teams. And here's the special situations that we're going to make sure we cover in that particular day so the players get exposure to it.
Mm-hmm.
We never had that. So you didn't even know what you were going to put in like that practice.
Jeez.
And we never had, we had 3 different segments for practice plans. All right, plan A, plan B, plan C.
Right.
But it was not on paper. It was not like, okay, first 7 minutes we're doing individual, then we're doing 7-on-7, then we're doing team run, you know, like
that wasn't
organized.
there.
It wasn't there. He'd say, okay, today's plan A. We're going out to plan A. We'll put red 2 in. We're going to work in the red area. So there was no preparation time as a coach.
Yeah.
When you walked on the field, you know, if you know what's coming, you can go study your book and say, okay, I know that I know this stuff, so when I go in front of the players today, I'm going to know what I'm talking about. None. You talk about making you a better coach. You had to know everything like that because you didn't know what was coming next. So, and he used to, like, we didn't have a script for practice, so he would just call the defenses and the offensive plays, and you just have to listen. This is the call, okay, so that's how we did it. And we won more games than anybody else. You know, now, we had good players, which that might be the lesson in all of it, but he was a really good coach. He was a really good teacher on the field. And the players had respect for him. He was very enthusiastic, very positive. So, you know, but I grew up under Don James when every minute of every day was organized.
Yeah.
And
the way you still are yourself.
And yeah, I'm still still the same way, you know, I was years ago. So it was interesting. I probably told this story before, but it's probably been 4 or 5 years ago when Coach James was in the hospital. And I called him on a Monday and talked to him. And when I was a player, we did progressives on Monday, which means you run up 10, back 20, up 30, back 40, up 50, back 60, you know, all the way up. And I said, we got the same practice plan today we had when I was playing, and we'll be doing progressives after practice.
Yeah. You know, there's validity to what you're saying. It's funny because I had the pleasure of working with Jerry Glanville. He was my color man on some telecasts for NASCAR.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Jerry drove NASCAR. He hit the occasional wall, but he was out there. And we would never do the same thing in rehearsal as we would do on the air. We would rehearse, and you get ready to go, and then all of a sudden, you know, you go on the air, the red light's on. He'd ask me something totally different. And I asked him one day, I said, why are you doing that? He goes, oh, you want to make sure you know your stuff, and you never know what's going to come up. And he said, you got to keep you honest. I forget exactly how he termed it, but that's his way.
Well, I tell you something else. You know, we'd be going in and we'd work all morning, and you know, I don't whether we were working on next year's opponents or doing self-scout or whatever in the off season, and you know, we'd get ready to meet in the afternoon. He'd say, "Come on, guys, let's go." Nobody knew where we were going. Nobody knew what we were going to do. Sometimes we went to the movie, the whole staff. But sometimes we went to Houston Motor Speedway, and the next thing I know, instead of being in a meeting, I'm sitting in that car with Floyd waiting for the green light to come on and see how fast you can go down the thing. I'm like, this is our afternoon meeting.
There you go.
It made you a better coach, right? The racing?
But he's the head coach, and he made the call on that. Hey, Coach, Pee-wee is healthy again. We've missed him the last couple of weeks. But Pee-wee in Grand Bay, Alabama, is our first caller of the night, brought to you by Alabama 811 to help prevent injuries, outages, and loss of life. Call 811 or visit l811.com before you dig. It's free, it's simple, and it's the law. Pee-wee, welcome back to the Healthy. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Coach, how are you?
Pee-wee, let me just tell you, I've been defending you all week. Because there's a lot of stuff out there that says you are as soft as a baby's behind.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just telling you, I'm doing the best I can.
Well, we had a player that didn't make the South Florida game because he was too sick to travel. Well, that was me, Coach. It wasn't pretty. Trust me.
Yeah, well, I hope you're feeling better. I was just kidding.
I know you are, but it was great. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good, and I just we came out again at the beginning of the game and shot ourselves in the foot over and over.
Novel
and
way to
took
self-destruct.
at least 14 points off the board for us, and then went into halftime 1 point down. I don't know what was said, who said it, if anybody said it, if you gave them the stink eye or what. But the offensive team that came out in the second half is not the same one that went into the locker room. Because those guys came out there, they were confident, they were secure in what they were doing, they were all on the same page, and they played outstanding. And I'd also like to congratulate Tyler Booker on winning the SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week award.
Yeah, well deserved. He really played a very good game. But, I thought, the first half, to your point, was almost a novelty in how to self-destruct in terms of some of the, mistakes that we made, things that we did and didn't do. And it cost us. We turned the ball over in a red area, get the ball 1st and 1 at the 1, and don't score a touchdown. So, but the point is to the players is why when we do things correctly, they work so well, and why when we do things incorrectly, they don't work at all. So when you evaluate what you're doing and you look in the mirror, you need to understand that, because that's how good we can be. I mean, we won 18-3 in the second half and lost 7-6 in the first half, and dominated the line of scrimmage. The offensive line played well. We had good balance. We didn't make very many errors. I think we had one penalty that cost us maybe 4 minutes at the end, taking the air out of the ball and not giving it back to them. But this is a choice that everybody has to make. When you look in the mirror, you can say, are you happy with who you are, what you are, and what you want to be? Are you all you can be? Are you making the choices and decisions that will help you accomplish the goals that you have? And are you willing to do the things you need to do that? But we need to play the way we played in the second half and eliminate some of those costly errors that we've had 5 touchdowns called back in 4 games. That may be an NCAA record because of penalties. 5 touchdowns this season because of penalties. So, just the attention to detail that it takes to be a consistent player and to perform at the level that I know these guys want to perform, but they have to have a sense of urgency about how important it is to do things right, fundamentally, as well as how you prepare for the game. I gave them a speech about, are we preparing like we need to prepare for the game? Is there, if you come here at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you meet with the coaches and you go through practice and you go through the meetings and watch film with the coach, and that's all you do to get ready for the game, you're not going to be ready for the game. I don't care what position you play, because there's a lot of information out there and things that when you get familiar with the opponent and then the coaches tell you what you're doing, that makes it so much easier for you to learn, because you really have a good understanding of what's being talked about and what's being taught. So all those things are areas that we need to elevate. And I think the players are trying. And I think we've had a pretty good week this week. I think the players are learning from these experiences that we have of why didn't it work, why did it work, and how can we continue to improve on the things that we need to improve on, and self-assess individually and collectively as groups so that we can go out there and execute better.
We're going to come right back, fellas, so stick around. We've got more with the coach, more with Ryan Hennessy. But first, we have to pause for these messages on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
near side. They cut across the middle. Jalen throws long, looking, and it's caught by Jermaine Burton. He had a man on his back, but it didn't matter as Trey Washington could do nothing out the ball, and it was a 54-yard reception by Jermaine Burton. A beautiful play.
Indeed it was. And Jalen Milroe to Jermaine Burton. Coach Nick Saban, that's has the potential for a very potent combination all season long.
Yeah, well, one of the things that Jalen does really, really well is he's accurate throwing the football, and he throws a really good long ball.
Yeah.
And Jermaine Burton has gotten behind the defense several times this year and just made great catches, but they've also been really good throws. So that's something we got to be able to continue to do. We got to be able to run the ball, have really good play action passes where we can take shots down the field, and then we got to be efficient on third down when we have to drop back pass.
Coach, I come to your press conferences every week, and at the beginning of the week, your team does a great job of, and you kind of talked about media training. You said, how did I do? You even asked us how we did, and I noticed you got an A+ because you look right at the camera. How important is that, and what really goes in? Because Josh and them do a really good job on the media training side of things for your players, and Jalen Milroe is one of the best.
Yeah, well, we always, I try to convince the players that, every time you have opportunity to create value for yourself, you need to use it. Because the reason that you're going to college is to create value for your future. Well, some of that is, and you guys should be able to relate to this now more than ever because of name, image, and likeness, is what is the value in your brand in terms of what kind of person are you, what kind of image do you project, what kind of character do you have, how do you do in school, and, what kind of competitive character do you have in terms of, so it's, are you motivated to accomplish goals and people look up to you for the way you do things? Are you doing the things you need to do as a person and character-wise not to diminish your brand? Right. And do you have any leadership qualities? Because that creates a lot of value in your brand. Everybody's looking for somebody who can impact somebody else in a positive way for their benefit. And you got to set a good example to be able to do that. And then when you get a chance to speak publicly, what's everybody going to say about you? I want everybody to say that I want to hire that guy someday.
Right.
That's what I tell all the players. When you get up there and you get interviewed and you're looking at the right thing, you got your eyes in the right place, you know how to bridge questions and talk about what you want to talk about so it really sounds like you know what you're talking about, then that's going to create value in your brand. People are going to say, hey, man, that guy's got great character. He's well-spoken.
Yeah.
I'd love to have him working for me someday. That's why you're going to college, and that's a great opportunity for our players, and we try to sell them on that. And then we've had some really good people, Lisa Lemaster for years, and this year, Kevin Sullivan come in, and they have seminars with the players, and they actually evaluate me too, and I probably get the worst grade of anybody.
No way.
Really?
You look right at the camera every time.
But I actually get a horrible grade from them in terms of they never send anything about the players doing something wrong, but they got something I did wrong every week. But I probably deserve it. I don't have enough patience sometimes.
Sometimes, though, you have a message you want to get across. And, that's, I guess, an underlying factor here. Regardless of what the question is, you know how to maneuver and massage things to get around to the message that you want to convey.
Well, I think that's the key to, and we tell the players this, we make a list of things that they want to talk about and messages that they want to get out. Mm-hmm. All right, and here's some of the questions that you may get asked. Some of them may not be for you to answer, and some of them may be about things that you really don't want to answer. But if you give a short answer and bridge it into something that you want to talk about, then, because, look, no disrespect to the media, but you need us to talk. You need us to talk.
There's some nights here. I'm like,
yeah, you need for the players and coaches, and you need us to talk.
Yeah.
You don't always, no disrespect, have the best questions to ask to get us to talk. So, therefore, it doesn't matter whether we answer your question or not. We just need to talk. So why not talk about what we want to talk about? So to your point, Eli, I always have a message that I want to, before every press conference. Sometimes it's getting a message to our team. to. Sometimes it's getting a message to the fans. But there is a message that is important to talk about, to get out there to try to promote the kind of competitive character you want to continue to promote with your team. Sometimes it's because everybody's telling them how good they are. Sometimes it's because everybody's telling them how bad they are. But there's always a message.
Exactly right. We've got a question here this questioner wants your thoughts and messages on the special teams. He said, punter James Burnip. This is Jamal in Gadsden, Alabama. He's really impressed me this fall, averaging over 48 yards a punt. Would you comment on the strength of our special teams with James and Will Reichard? Thank you, and Roll Tide.
Yeah, well, I think there's two things that people sometimes sort of roll into one. Is how are your specialists performing? Mm-hmm. So our specialists are performing outstanding. You mentioned Will. Will's been great with the field goals, great with the extra points. Other than, a couple mishits, last week, he's been really consistent with kickoffs, kicking them out of the end zone,
right,
which is really important. It's going to be important this week because this team leads the country in kickoff returns. So then you've got the punter is doing a fantastic job. He's averaging 48 yards a punt, but he's also kicking the ball high, and we haven't had a lot of issues with return because the coverage has been good. All right, so then you got special teams. How are your special teams doing? Mm-hmm. All right, well, special teams made an impact on the game by setting up a score last week and blocking a punt.
Yep.
So we've only had one really good punt return this year. A lot of people are not kicking the ball to Kool-Aid. They're sort of spraying the ball, so it's harder to set up returns. But how we have to improve that part of our game. We need to improve kickoff return. We haven't had a lot of opportunities, but the ones we haven't been really good at executing. So you got two factors. You got the specialists are doing great. I'd say our special teams, there's areas that we can improve. And we've been in the top 2 or 3 in special teams when you rank everything together pretty consistently for many, many years. And I don't think we're far off of that. I just think there's areas that we need to improve.
Jamal, thank you for your question. And you can do like Jamal did. He reads Nick Saban's information and column and all sorts of special items on alabama.com, al.com. Check it out, and you can submit your questions to be heard here on the show. Ryan?
Coach, I want to say Thursdays with Pat McAfee is probably my favorite segment now. You light up when you talk to Pat McAfee, and today was a really good one I watched, so I didn't double up on questions. You talked about your speeches to the media and how you kind of talk to people throughout the week. Like, did you say sports psychologists and stuff? People don't realize what's really in your program. Can you touch on that a little bit more? I thought that was fascinating. Sports psychologists that you talk to try to get your message, because you can't think of every speech that you have on a Monday or a Friday.
Well, I think that, we're all trying to impact and affect human behavior, individually and collectively on your team. But the individuals on your team kind of make the team what it is. So there's individual messaging that you're trying to get across to impact players, to help them improve and create more value for themselves and to help the team. But you also have a message that the entire team needs to sort of have a reason to motivate themselves to be able to play a specific game or whatever. And it's really, really hard. So I've been here for however many years. So how many of these games have we played and how many speeches have I had to give? And most of the time it's on Monday and Friday that I give these speeches. So that's twice a week for all these games. So it's kind of hard you're almost saying the same thing. You're trying to emphasize the same thing, but you're trying to find different ways to get it across to the players where, one message may impact a third of the group, another way it would impact another third, and you're actually trying to get everybody on the team to be able to resonate on what you're trying to say. So to have people who have experience in impacting and affecting human behavior is really, really important. It's helped me as a coach. It's helped me deal with individual players. It's helped me have a better way to message, to players with new ideas in terms of things that you want to emphasize. I mean, basically, in any sport, it comes down to your ability to execute with consistency. Now, we could talk about 100 things that impact that, but part of it is your mindset. I mean, for all of us in this room, like I said, look in the mirror. I mean, what's your mindset every day relative to what you want to accomplish and what you want to do, and how much discipline do you have to see that through every day? I mean, we all could say that. Well, it's no different for players. Just because they have athletic ability to play at Alabama doesn't mean they're any different than you and me and anybody else in terms of what is their mindset to try to be and accomplish what they can accomplish. So, basically, we're all have the human condition, which the human condition is to survive. Okay, so we just want to be comfortable. And we're kind of taught that, and our society teaches us that. We tell a guy, if you sell 10 cars this month, you get to go to the Bahamas. Well, he's not going to go sell 20. He's going to sell 10, go and sit in his chair and eat Tostitos and drink beer and say, want a trip to the Bahamas. He's not going to try to win the championship and sell more cars than anybody ever sold. That's normal. Okay, that's normal. If we have our football players thinking like that, we're not going to win very many games. But they still are human. They still have the human condition. They want to do what they have to do to get by. So our challenge is to get them from here to now. How can we get you to be the best that you can be? So I call that the capability gap. All right, what are you capable of doing versus what are you really doing and what are you accomplishing? And what do you need to do it? And but people think that just because somebody has talent and ability, they have this championship attitude to be the best that they can be. And that's not always the case. And there's a lot of people that have ability that need to learn how to challenge themselves to be the best that they can be. And in our case, and one of the things that we fight, quite a bit, because there's a lot of social media, a lot of these kids now get a lot of their positive and self, gratification from external factors, and they're kind of geared that way. So to try to get them to be intrinsically motivated, and they've always been better than everybody else. So there's never been this sense of urgency that they need to do things and pay attention to detail and do the little things right. So to change that mindset, I mean, having people who understand human behavior and can direct. And, we have these people talk to the players. We have them interview every player, and they tell us how we need to coach a guy so that we may be able to get him to that point a little more quickly because of his personality type or whatever. So if you have an obsessive-compulsive personality guy who really is driven, perfectionist, everything's got to be a certain way in his room, but that's the way he plays and that's the way he does things, you got to coach that guy different than some guy who has all kind of ability and is casual, about everything that he does, and just kind of almost lazy in terms of his effort and his ability to perform. So those two guys need to be treated entirely different. They have a different mindset, but they need to be coached differently. So if you don't have somebody who is an expert in human behavior trying to help you through all that, I'm not smart enough. I promise you, I'm not smart enough. And nobody probably where I came from in West Virginia is smart enough to be able to figure all that out. All right, so that's something that has been very, very helpful to us through the years.
Right. Nick Saban is with us, so too Ryan Hennessy from NBC 13. We're coming right back. More of the show after these messages on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
So the Crimson Tide now with Oots in the left slot. Play action. Milroe looks long, has a man there. Touchdown, Alabama!
Jalen Milroe continuing to play awfully well. 6 touchdown passes, couple of touchdown runs already this season. As we welcome you back to the Nick Saban Show. Hey Coach, and the Nick Saban Show, presented by Alfa Insurance. Protect your car's home, life, and business with Alfa. And this segment of the Nick Saban Show is also brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. With zero sugar and refreshingly delicious, is Coca-Cola Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Well, find out for yourself. We welcome you back to Baumhauer's here in Tuscaloosa. And, Coach, standing to your right, a gentleman with a question for you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hey, Coach, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great.
Great.
In South Florida, your team experienced some unexpected delays with lightning and rain. I was just curious as to how you prepare the players to adjust for that and how that can play into the momentum of the game.
Right. Well, you know, I actually think it was a good thing for us in this particular game because we weren't playing great. But in preparation for the game, you know, we always have wet ball practice. All right, so we anticipated that there was a chance, a 50-50 chance, that we would get some kind of a thunderstorm or some kind of a rainstorm during the course of the game. And we knew that several days in advance. But in the normal course of things, we always have wet ball practice. So we're going to take a whole period, and the players are playing with the wet ball. Quarterback's got to throw it, receivers got to catch it, runners got to hold on to it. So that's a part of the preparation. We tell the players that we're going to have bad weather conditions, but they're used to it because they practiced it all week. Even though you can't generate rain for them, you can, you know, the ball is the problem. And, you know, I always emphasize to our players that, you know, a lot of people think, wow, it's going to really be hard to play offense because it's wet. It's really harder to play defense when the field's bad because you don't know where you're going. You have to redirect, change direction. Offensive players actually know where they're going. So you got to prepare both sides, you know, for that. But the way we try to take our team, we had a big rain delay when in Missouri. I don't know what year it was. Eddie Lacy was still playing here then.
A number of years ago.
Yeah, it's been several years ago. But and we make the players come in just like it's halftime. And one of the things that I emphasize to them is we take a second set of clothes for all of our players, uniform. Because, you know, once you get soaking wet and your pads get wet, man, that's heavy. So you're not going to be able to perform as well if you're all wet. So we give them an opportunity to change and put dry clothes on. And then we sit them down just like it's halftime. And we go through every play, every adjustment, everything that we need to do and everything that we're going to do. So they're occupied. You know, they're not just sitting around like, you know, what's happening next. You're trying to keep them involved. And then I talk to them just like we're going out after halftime or whatever when we go back out and take the field. So, but I actually think that in that particular game, because we were flat as a pancake, which is really my fault for whatever reasons not to be able to get them ready to play in that situation. But we actually played better after the rain delay. Maybe it was some of the adjustments that we made, but I think it was also everybody kind of realized that, hey, this is not going to be easy, so we need to get ourselves together here.
Sir, thank you for coming out. We appreciate it.
Coach, special being up here. I'm a young journalist in the industry, but to be sitting next to the three of you guys, Eli, to be back here. There's a lot of really good color analysts and play-by-play analysts, but Eli's one of the best. And to have him back, yeah, it's got to be special for you. What do you think about him back? And do you ever, you know, look at his calls and do you get a chance to see those? Because they're pretty special. We like to use them on the news, even though it's the radio side.
You know, but Eli is like a part of the tradition of Alabama football, Alabama athletics, because you expect that voice to be there.
Right.
You know, like Vince Scully or one of those guys that was with whoever they were with for years and years and years. It's just the voice of, and that's the expectation, and that's what you expect to see. No different than what does everybody expect to see when the band takes the field, or the team takes the field? Those are all parts of the tradition that make Alabama football what it is. And Eli's voice has been a part of that for a long, long time. And I know how much everybody is happy that he's back, was disappointed that he ever had to go through what he had to go through. And it's a part of it, and it's a part of the tradition, and I love it. I love him. I love the fact that he's back, and I hope that he can stay with us for many years to come.
From your mouth to God's ears. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Let's go to the phones. Adam in Milledgeville, Georgia. Hello, Adam.
Hi, Coach. How are you?
Good, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. Coach, I was just wondering, how would you say that you've changed as a coach and as a person since, say, your time at Toledo, Michigan State, and LSU?
Wow, I think probably quite a bit. I think that when I played and when I first started coaching, I was a lot more result-oriented. Everything was about winning. That's all I talked about was winning. Never really taught anybody how to win. And I've told the story many times in 1998 when we played Ohio State, so I won't bore everybody with that. But I thought we had no chance in the game. Ohio State was number one for a long, long time. We were 4-5 or something. It was like the 10th game of the season. And I actually thought I might get fired at the end of the year. So, I talked to our sports psychiatry guy, and he said, hey, just tell the players to play one play at a time. Don't look at the scoreboard. Do the best they can one play at a time. And nothing else matters. Scoreboard doesn't matter. Win or losing doesn't matter. Nothing matters. So that's how we played. And we actually beat the number one team in the country at Ohio State. I think it was like 28-25 or something. And that's how the players played. They competed in the game. They had fun. They didn't look at the scoreboard. They didn't worry about winning. They didn't worry about losing. I didn't worry about winning. I didn't worry about losing, and we won. So that was a lesson to me, that focusing on process, focusing on what it takes to win, and not talking so much about winning and putting signs up about winning the championship. Like there's no signs. There's never been a sign up in all the years we've been here that says win the SEC. There's not a sign up in our building that says win the national championship. Everything's about being a champion, doing the things you need to do to be the best you can be, so that we have the best opportunity to be able to do those things. And we've had a lot of good players. We have a lot of good coaches, and they've all contributed to being able to do this, fairly successfully. And we obviously have our challenges with this team. I believe in this team, and we got to do a better job with this team so that we can play more consistently, and everybody's working hard to try to do that.
Coach Nick Saban is with us, so too Ryan Hennessy from NBC 13 in Birmingham. We're going to be continuing with more of the show, and don't forget, the Nick Saban Show is being brought to you by Alfa Insurance. Protect your cars, home, life, and business with Alfa. Back in a moment on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
it. Hands to Jace. Jace stumbles. He's on his feet. Retains his balance. Carries it in. Touchdown, Alabama. Touchdown, Alabama. Robbie Oots with a block. And the run-in by Jace McClellan, who I don't quite know how he didn't lose his footing, but that's why he's there and I'm up here.
Welcome back, everybody. And Coach, I think that's a fair statement when I was talking about Jace McClellan, who stumbled and never did lose his footing. And I said, that's why he's down here and I'm up here. It's amazing watching the ability that these players of today have.
Yeah, well, Jace has had a great year for us. He's played really well. He's a great all-around player. He's a good pass receiver. He's a good pass blocker. He's smart. He does a really good job of, pressing holes and getting at the right place. It was a really, really good run, the 10-yard touchdown run he made Saturday.
Yep.
Down on the student end. Guy's a really good player, and we just got to get our players to continue to understand, and I've said this before, the importance of doing the little things right.
Yeah.
That is the number one thing. I mean, hands inside when you're blocking so we don't get holding calls. It's going to be important for guys to get their second step on the ground in the offensive line because these guys are going to slant and stunt and blitz every down. So you got to take small steps so you can, gather people up. All right, and it's if you don't do things the right way, then bad things happen. And that's been pretty consistent for us. And we've done a lot of good things. All right, and I believe in this team. But we have to have that sense of urgency to do the little things right if we're going to be able to have the kind of success that we're capable of having, to be honest with you.
Is that what aggravates you or others in your position the most, those penalties that just didn't need to happen?
Yeah, well, I think that, as a coach, you want your team to play with great discipline.
Sure.
You want guys to go out there and execute because that's what you're working for every day. You're working to help them to play to the maximum full potential that they can play to. And you feel like you're failing when guys actually go out there and don't do things the way they're supposed to do them, the way you're coaching them to do them, the way you're trying to teach them to do it for their benefit so that they can create value for themselves, but also for the team's benefit. And that part is not frustrating. It just makes you sort of say, I'm going to keep challenging myself to fight through this in a way that we're going to get through to these guys so that we can get guys to do it the right way. And in some cases, where you have guys that don't seem to ever respond and be able to do it the right way, there's a point in time where you got to say, we need to play somebody else.
Yeah.
We need to play somebody else. I mean, it's not fair to other guys on the team who are doing it correctly if you don't reinforce the fact that this guy's making too many mental errors or mental mistakes or not doing things the right way. So that's always the challenge as a coach. But that's really what I want for every player on our team. I want them to have a chance to be more successful. And you feel like you're failing them when you're not getting across to them what you want to get across to them so that they can create that kind of value.
Yeah. Coach, the clock on the wall regretfully says we're almost out of time, so it is now time for your final word, presented each week by Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz, the vehicles are all electric. The feeling is all Mercedes.
Yeah, well, I really think this is a big game for us. I think this is a big challenge for us being on the road. This is a tough place to play, always a tough place to play. And this is a very physical, tough, well-coached team. It's not the team that you saw before in terms of the offense. They're going to run the ball. They got a good back. They got some good receivers. The quarterback's started 38 games or whatever and is a really, really good player. They're very aggressive on defense. This is a very challenging preparation for us, and it's a very challenging game for us. And we need to continue to progress as a team if we're going to have success in this game. And, I ask everybody today what I said earlier. Everybody got to look in the mirror. And you got to say, am I doing the things that I want to do to create the value for myself and our team that I'm capable of doing? So what can we do to continue to improve and do better? I've liked the attitude of our team this week in practice, and I'm excited about the challenge, and I'm excited about the opportunity that this team has to continue to grow and get better as a group.
Coach, you mentioned Will Rogers, not by name, but he is the quarterback from Mississippi State. The most completions in SEC history. What makes him so difficult to deal with?
Well, he's very accurate with the ball. He's very smart. He gets the ball out of his hand, quickly. Knows the offense really well, and he's played in a passing system. We talked about Mike Leach earlier,
right?
But he played in a passing system, so he's like having a coach on the field when it comes to the passing game. But they have a lot more balance on their team this year, because they will run the ball. They have more diversity in personnel groups. It's more challenging to prepare for them because of all the different people they use and how they use them. And he operates well on all those systems, so that's why this makes this a real challenging game.
Ryan Hennessy, great to see you, sir. Thank you for coming by and joining us here tonight.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Ron. Thank you
fun.
so much.
Yes,
sir.
Coach, you take care. Travel safe. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Thanks.
Coach Nick Saban here at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. The Nick Saban Show, presented by Alfa Insurance. Protect your cars, home, life, and business with Alfa. Get a quote or find a local agent at alfainsurance.com. Final thoughts coming up. Don't you go away. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.